Does she still not realize what's going on? Not at all. She even went to work today, totally oblivious. After leaving work early because I wasn't feeling well, I came home to find my husband, Keith, and my best friend, Lisa, in the middle of an affair in our bed. They didn't notice me, so I recorded a video and sent it to Lisa's husband, Rick. Rick and I were college classmates and decided to hatch a plan. If we were going to confront them, why not have a little fun first? Following Rick's lead, we played a prank on Keith and Lisa. Watching them get flustered was amusing. When I finally confronted them and demanded a divorce, the real reason Lisa approached Keith came out. I was astonished and quickly lost interest in the relationship. My name is Julie, and I'm 28 years old. Keith and I have been married for 2 years, and we're the same age. We met in college through a group of friends who often went on trips together. Being students on a tight budget, we usually traveled cheaply, often by rented car. I frequently ended up in the same car as Keith, and later I learned this was no coincidence. Among the male members of our group, it was well known that Keith had a crush on me, but I remained oblivious. Back then, I liked driving and Keith's kindness, but I couldn't tell if it was love or just friendship. We never dated during college. After graduation, we both started working. Near the end of our first year out of college, our group had a reunion where I reconnected with Keith. We discovered we worked close to each other and started meeting up. On our third dinner together, he confessed his feelings, saying he had liked me since we first met. I was very happy to hear that and realized I also had feelings for him. So we started dating. I immediately told my best friend, Lisa. She was also part of our college group and knew Keith well. Lisa was popular and always in a relationship, but never dated within our group to avoid awkwardness. I don't want group activities to get weird after breaking up with someone, she explained. I appreciated that she prioritized our friendship. Lisa and I became friends during college orientation. She was beautiful, approachable, and had a dazzling presence. Our friendship continued even after we started working, and we met up frequently. When I told her about Keith, she reacted with surprise and joy. "You're serious about Keith?" she asked. I told her how Keith had liked me since freshman year, and she seemed surprised. Her reaction threw me off. I expected her to be more excited. "So, are you guys seriously dating now?" "Is that okay with you, Julie?" she asked. I wondered why she seemed uneasy. "Yeah, of course. I really like how kind he is," I replied, trying to reassure myself. I had heard Lisa just got engaged, so maybe she was experiencing cold feet. I ended the call, convincing myself that was the reason. Lisa had decided to marry a classmate she started dating in her senior year, someone she always said she liked. "I don't want to work, so I want to get married and be a stay-at-home wife," she had said. I thought she was half joking, but it seemed she was serious. Lisa actually quit her job as soon as she got engaged. After a while, Lisa suggested we have dinner with Keith and her husband. "We're all college friends," she said. Her husband's name is Rick. Rick and I were in the same seminar group, so we were friends, but Keith and Rick didn't know each other. "Sounds good. I'll ask him," I replied. The dinner happened soon after. Lisa took the lead, which was unusual for her, but she seemed to be enjoying herself. I was relieved, thinking she had finally overcome her pre-wedding blues. However, that dinner started to strain my relationship with Lisa. Initially, Keith and I planned a surprise to celebrate Lisa and Rick's marriage. We wanted to do more for them, but Lisa quickly changed the topic. "Thanks, but I'm more interested in you too," she said. I wondered if our wedding gift didn't make her happy. She quickly set aside our present without looking and started asking about our dates and what Keith liked about me. Some questions were awkward, and even Rick had to intervene. "Is Lisa drunk?" I thought. "I'm not." "Oh, I have to tell you a secret about Julie," she said, making me anxious. "Julie used to flirt with a 50-year-old professor in college." What? Really? Keith looked at me with a disdainful expression, making me uneasy. It's not like that. I tripped and ended up on his lap. Everyone was laughing. I explained. Oh, I saw that. You're such a klutz, Rick said, trying to turn the conversation into a joke, but Lisa kept bringing up girls I didn't like, exaggerating the stories. Remember the girl you always talked badly about, she said. Wasn't that Lisa? Stop it. Don't blame me for what you said. The atmosphere worsened. Keith looked at me sadly. I couldn't understand why Lisa was saying things that belittled me. We parted ways awkwardly, and on the way home, I frantically explained myself to Keith. You don't need to get so worked up about a little gossip, he said with a laugh, though I sensed his inner turmoil. But it was Lisa who sent those things. I insisted. Hey, stop it. Bringing it up now and not during that moment is just cowardly, he replied. I was speechless, feeling at a disadvantage. Sometime later, Lisa and Rick's wedding took place, and Keith and I were both invited. Lisa looked beautiful at her wedding, but I couldn't manage a genuine smile. Half a year after Lisa's wedding, Keith proposed to me. By then, I had completely forgotten what Lisa had said. I was on top of the world. I sent Lisa a wedding invitation and announcement, feeling a bit nervous since we hadn't been in touch much after her wedding, but Lisa seemed happy for me. Congratulations. I'm looking forward to your wedding, she wrote back. I thought she must have forgotten all about that incident, so I promised myself to forget it too. On my wedding day, I waited for Lisa, but she didn't show up. Other friends said they saw her much earlier, but she never came to the bridal suite. I didn't worry too much since friends don't always show up. However, Keith was also missing. The staff went to look for him but couldn't find him. As the ceremony time approached, I headed to the venue alone. To my surprise, Keith was already there, and so was Lisa. My heart raced with unease. Why were they together? They were friends, sure, but they seemed too close for comfort. I approached them with the best smile I could muster. Keith, you're already here. I was waiting for Lisa in the bridal suite. Keith seemed restless and uneasy when he saw me. Wow, Julie, you look beautiful. Keith and I got caught up in conversation and forgot to join you, Lisa said nonchalantly, laughing. My face must have frozen despite the upcoming festivities. After the wedding, Keith and I had a big fight. I don't want you to be friendly with Lisa anymore. Why? Lisa's your best friend. Keith sighed heavily. She's a friend. What's the big deal? Lisa knows how to attract men. She's very savvy. Don't talk bad about your best friend. You're really mean. Lisa did well to stay friends with you. I was shocked. I could only imagine what Lisa had been telling him about me. Angered, I retorted with something I regretted. So, you regret marrying me then? Maybe you're right, Keith said. I wanted him to deny it, to say it wasn't true. It was right after our wedding, and I feared this would linger for a long time. Our marriage had started on such a sour note, I didn't want to argue with Keith, so I stopped probing further, holding on to my unease. After getting married, I quit my full-time job and started working part-time at the same company, but in a retail position primarily handling customer service. As a former full-time employee, I was given a lot of responsibility and was busy, but I always made sure to be home before Keith and handled all the housework alone. My days were hectic, and I had almost forgotten about Lisa, or rather, I kept myself busy to avoid thinking about her. I tried to believe that my married life was going well. Then one day I pushed myself too hard with work and house chores and fell ill. Despite this, I couldn't take time off due to staff shortages at work. I decided to cut corners at home, just buying some pre-made meals and letting the laundry pile up a bit. But Keith was not understanding. Hey, why didn't you do the laundry? I need it for tomorrow. Sorry, I didn't know. You should at least take care of the house properly. I don't want to eat such lazy meals after coming home from work. He left somewhere angrily. I had told him I was feeling unwell, but instead of concern, he demanded perfection in household chores. Where had the kind Keith gone? I never thought marriage would be this hard. I went to work despite my poor health. The manager, seeing how pale and shaky I was, told me to go home and rest. It was a slow day at the store, and they reassured me it was okay. I knew they were probably going to be busy, but if I collapsed, it would cause more trouble, so I took their advice. I went to the doctor, got some medicine, and feeling extremely unwell, stopped at a cafe on the way home to take the medication with some light food. Then I headed home. Passing by my house, I noticed the bedroom curtains were closed even though I had left them open in the morning. Wondering if it could be a burglar, I'd almost called the police, but then thought I might have forgotten to open them due to my illness. Just to be sure, I quietly entered the house and heard a woman's voice. Peeking through the slightly open bedroom door, I saw Lisa on top of Keith. They were in the midst of an affair. My mind went blank. Why? Since when? As I sat in shock, I heard their voices. She still hasn't realized. No, she hasn't. She even went to work today. She's really oblivious, isn't she? Yeah, it's crazy. She married me without knowing about us. She's really living in a fantasy world. From their conversation, I realized they had been involved before our marriage. But why? Why did Keith even marry me? Yeah, if I had started dating Lisa earlier, we could have been married. That's true. Aren't you going to leave your husband? I find affairs more exciting. I felt sick listening to their conversation. It was unbearable. I took out my smartphone and decided to secretly record them. Lisa and Keith were so engrossed in each other they didn't notice me. I filmed for about an hour, capturing their derogatory remarks about Rick and me. Rick probably has no idea his wife is at another man's house in the middle of the day. He's working, clueless. I felt nauseous and had to step outside. Rick is my friend, and hearing him talked about like that made my blood boil. I sent some of the footage to Rick. I should have been dizzy from the fever, but I felt more alert, either from the medication or adrenaline from my anger. I was trying to decide what to do next when Rick called. So they were cheating, huh? You knew. Rick and I agreed to meet. Is it okay to leave work? Yeah, I'm taking a leave. This opportunity is too good to miss. He directed me to a certain bar, Lisa and Keith's rendezvous spot. You've already checked this out? Yeah, they always meet here. Rick had been investigating them for some time and had complete information, including photos of them enjoying their affair. Let's mess with them a bit before confronting them. How? Just watch. Soon enough, they arrived. I was nervous about being spotted, but Rick assured me we were at a perfect spot for surveillance. I was shaken up, but Rick seemed to be enjoying the situation and appeared very dependable. Once they settled in, Rick called Lisa. Hey, Lisa, where are you? Near home at the supermarket. Great, I'll pick you up soon. No, don't bother. I'll join you for shopping. See you soon. Lisa's voice sounded panicked. What should we do? Rick's coming back, really? I couldn't help but laugh at the situation. Rick had a mischievous smile on his face. I never knew he had this side to him. He was actually the most popular guy among girls in our class. When I heard he was dating Lisa, all the girls in the class were shocked. Julie, you should do it too, he said. I followed his lead and called Keith. Keith, where are you? Where else? I'm at work, obviously. It's quite noisy there. I'm in a meeting, he claimed, which was too far-fetched. Keith must have realized his mistake. Their expressions were clearly visible from our end. Well, I'm outside your office right now. Let's go home together. What? I finish late today. Just go home. Oh, but I see someone from your office. I'll go say hi. Bye. I hung up, watching their reactions. Keith and Lisa were in a panic. We enjoyed watching their scramble. When they hurried outside, we confronted them. Their shock was evident. They were at a loss for words. I thought you were at the office. Did you teleport here from the supermarket? You lied to us. That's the worst. Instead of admitting their faults, Keith and Lisa accused us of lying. Who's the worst one here, cheating at all? I retorted. Cheating? What are you talking about? I don't understand, Keith said. We know everything, Rick nodded in agreement. Lisa's face turned red with anger, and she lashed out at me. Basically, Rick is supposed to be at work, right? Julie, you seduced someone else's husband. Actually, I'm the one who suggested we come here, Rick interjected. Rick, you're defending Julie. Lisa couldn't stand that Rick and I were working together. Trembling with rage, she continued, Don't change the subject. You stole my husband, right? We knew you two were having an affair. We're discussing that now. It's not like that. I just had something to consult with Keith about. Lisa stammered. Huh, why so formal all of a sudden? I told them their affair was already known, but they kept pretending to be just friends. So I decided to show them the video I recorded earlier. What's this? When did you record this? Is it a surveillance camera? Keith asked. It's obviously handheld, so it's clear I recorded it directly. It became clear that Lisa's visit today wasn't a one-time thing. Imagining them in my bed every day made me sick. I think I'll divorce Keith. I'll divorce Lisa too. What you two do after is your business. Their reactions were polar opposites. Keith was happy while Lisa broke down crying. Lisa, yes, now we can get married. What? I don't want to divorce Rick. Keith was baffled. Hey, what are you saying? You said you wanted to marry me, that Rick wouldn't divorce you. Shut up. Be quiet. Lisa snapped, then turned to Rick pleadingly. Rick, I'm sorry. You're the only one for me. Did I say I didn't want a divorce? That's just Keith making things up. He's living in a fantasy world. Hey, what are you saying? Don't make things up. Keith shot back. Lisa started spouting obvious lies to protect herself. Who's living in a fantasy world? This video looks like you're enjoying yourself. This video is different. Keith forced me. Huh? What are you talking about? You said you wanted to do it in Julie's bed because it was more exciting. I realized something. Lisa didn't really love Keith. She just wanted to win over me, and she was confident she could. I remembered something from college. A couple among our classmates seemed very much in love, but within a month, the guy was dating Lisa. The girl was devastated and cried. When I asked Lisa if she had stolen him, she said, he came to me on his own. He wanted to date for just a week, so I agreed, but we've already broken up. Back then, I thought it was entirely the guy's fault, but now I see this was a pattern. Only now, as a victim myself, did I realize that Lisa couldn't stand seeing others happy. So, Lisa, you never really liked Keith, did you? Of course not. The only one I love is Rick. Hey, what's that? You came to me first. Indeed, Lisa had initiated everything. According to Keith, after the four of us had dinner, Lisa contacted him the next day, pretending to be concerned about me, but really just speaking ill of me. Julie is actually a huge flirt with men. I'm worried she might get attacked someday. What? I've never felt that way. She acts differently in front of men, you know. She's good at pretending. I didn't know that. I was astounded that Keith so easily believed her words. Keith, you've been infatuated with me all this time, and yet you so quickly believed what Lisa said. I'm disappointed. At first, I didn't believe it, but Lisa kept showing up. Since the conversation was going nowhere, we decided to meet later to discuss further. I couldn't stand being near Keith and decided to go to my parents' house, but Keith wanted to talk properly. You want me to sleep in the bed where you two were together? I asked. Keith paled. He seemed to finally realize the gravity of his actions. Sorry, I've done something irreversible. By the way, I recorded that video today. What? Keith started crying on the street. Seeing his pathetic state, I felt my feelings for him completely fade. "I'm not returning to that house. I will divorce you." "No, wait, please reconsider. You've been betraying me since before we were married. How can we start over? Besides, you were happy about divorcing me just a moment ago." "I was deceived by Lisa. Now I understand how important you are." His convenient words angered me. "This is just a game to you, isn't it?" "Not serious." I lost it at that remark. "What game?" "Don't joke. You've wasted over 2 years of my life. Give me back my time." I may have yelled too much in public, drawing a crowd. Keith shamelessly cried and begged for forgiveness, but I ignored him and walked away, leaving him amidst the onlookers. A few days later, Rick and I hired lawyers and faced divorce mediation. Divorce was the only option for both of us, and we had plenty of evidence. Lisa's eyes were red and swollen, probably from crying. I knew she truly loved Rick. She only reported being happy when she was with him, so she must not have wanted the divorce. Her pride wouldn't allow her to become a divorcee. "I really love Rick the most. That's why I don't want a divorce." Her shallow actions of cheating just for fun made no sense to me. She couldn't bear others being happy and went as far as to seduce a friend's husband. There's no sympathy for such petty pride leading to losing a husband she genuinely loved. "You wanted to beat me, right? But you've been losing to me from the start." Lisa bit her lip, her face contorted. "Julie was actually the popular one among the guys in college, not you," Rick added. "That was news to me. You thought being around Julie would make you popular, too." "What a delusional jerk," Rick continued. "I had always been in all-girls schools until high school and had never been told I was popular. Now I realized Lisa had made me believe I wasn't. The notion that Lisa was beautiful and popular came only from her, and looking at her now, she didn't seem that pretty. It was like mind control, and I had been viewing her through a filter. Lisa looked at me. "Don't look at me like I'm some pitiful thing." "But you are pitiful." "What did you say?" Lisa lunged at me, but Rick quickly stepped in. Keith also moved to protect me, albeit a bit late. "What's with you two falling for such a woman?" "The one deceiving people was you," Lisa shouted. "I am the princess." We were all dumbfounded. Perhaps this was her true self. She wanted to be the center of attention, behaving as if she were a princess. "It's absurd for Julie to be protected by men," she cried. Our lawyer suggested psychiatric consultation for Lisa, seeing her condition. "I'm not crazy." "It's not about being crazy. It's about taking time to calmly reflect on your actions," I said, but Lisa wouldn't listen, so we left her psychiatric care to her parents. We decided to communicate through our lawyers and eventually got divorced. Things were peaceful for a while. I enjoyed my single life. Rick and I met occasionally. "That was a tough time, huh?" Rick said. "Really, I feel so relieved now." One day, as I was walking home alone after meeting Rick, a gaunt Keith appeared. "What do you want?" "I've realized how important you are, Julie. I want to start over." "Sorry, but that's impossible." "Why? I'll make you happy this time." "How can you make me happy when you cheated even before we were married?" "I regret that. I watched you two for an hour that day, recording it." Keith was at a loss for words. "So it's impossible. Every time I see you, that's all I can think of. I get irritated seeing you. Please don't show up in front of me." I wanted to cut ties quickly with Keith. There was another reason for this. I'm seeing someone with marriage in mind. Really? I had been dating the manager of my workplace. He was the most supportive person after my divorce. On the night I discovered Lisa and Keith's affair, I collapsed at my parents' house. I was taken to the hospital in an ambulance. It was just an aggravated cold, nothing serious, but probably caused by excessive stress. I didn't have to be hospitalized, but I decided to take a break from work. There were also the divorce proceedings to handle. When I told my manager, he was so concerned that he came to visit me at my parents' house. Despite the trouble I had caused at work, he never complained and stayed by my side. I think I can trust him. If I were to remarry, it would be him." "Don't say things like that. I've been watching you all along, Julie. I'm your biggest supporter. When I think about it, Keith and I never spent time together outside of our group. That's why I married him without really knowing him, and I never noticed his affair. That guy could be doing something behind your back, too." "Maybe, but I trust him more than you." When I said this seriously, Keith looked deeply hurt. "I was deceived. It's not my fault. Lisa is bad. But you're equally guilty. I genuinely loved you, but she kept feeding lies. Keith, you chose to believe Lisa." Keith kept appearing, asking for a second chance. Finally, my manager became worried and consulted with the police. They responded quickly, and Keith was no longer able to approach me. Keith's parents were informed, and they promised to keep an eye on him. Thanks to that, Keith stopped appearing in front of me. Keith started working under their supervision, taking a night job as well. His earnings were managed entirely by his parents. Lisa kept appearing in front of Rick. Rick wasn't dating anyone yet, but he was going out with a woman. During one of their dinners, Lisa showed up, her face a mess of tears and snot. She threw water at Rick's date, screaming, "You thief! Hey, what are you doing?" Naturally, Rick was more concerned about the woman, which made Lisa angrier, and she lunged at her. The restaurant called the police, and Lisa was taken away. Rick reported her as a stalker to the police. The shock of being labeled a stalker made Lisa shut herself in at home. She was taken to a psychiatrist by her family and is currently undergoing treatment. She continuously cries about Rick at the clinic, unable to bear seeing him with other women. Rick politely declined her request for a visit through a phone call to her parents. Knowing all this, Lisa was even more distressed. She will likely be admitted to a psychiatric facility. Her parents were despairing. Finally, the commotion around me subsided, and I was able to focus on my relationship with the manager. Though I had developed some trust issues, he kindly and patiently addressed them. We're still not ready for marriage, but I believe a future with him might be possible. Rick and I maintained a good relationship. When I introduced him to my manager, Rick was pleased. Surprisingly, Rick owned a company, and my manager had always dreamed of running his own business. So they hit it off, talking about work despite their 5-year age difference. "Come visit my company sometime," Rick invited. He quietly told me he thought the manager was a wonderful person. I thought so too. This time I wanted to make my own decisions, not swayed by others.